Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jain. If you're just joining us, you're in time for the second discussion. You can let us know where it is you're watching us from, how the roads are looking on your side if you are on the road en route to work or your place of business. And you can also stream us live. Our official site for streaming is the www.kbc.co/live. Do let us know where it is you're watching us from, how you are enjoying the show, and send us toothpicks on how the roads are looking on your end. We'll be checking in again before we wind up the show to see how things would have changed, and how what more needs to be done to just help you get to your place of work or business better. Now, today on Family Check, just as I told you, we're talking about a very sensitive issue, and this is about children who have gotten separated from their parents and are still missing. And we have a couple with us in studio. We'll just be having one of them on set to just tell us a bit about what happened and, what are the ways, that children can be separated from the parents, and what you as a parent need to be careful about, what you need to teach your children in terms of safety tips to be able to help themselves even in such situations. And with me in studio, I'll start with my immediate left. He is Mr. Philip Mwaura, who is a father and a teacher. Karibu sana, Philip.
Thank you so much.
We're glad you're with us this morning.
Thank you.
Of course, to my extreme left, he is our resident analyst, life coach, and mentor, Mr. Fred Abok. Karibu sana, Abok.
Pleasure.
And today we are all speaking as a parents, and we also have Esther Philip, who is the mother of the child who went missing about a week ago. She is with us in studio, but she will be represented by her husband, Mr. Philip, here on set. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
All right, so we just want to find out the situation on your end and how, you ended up being separated from your child. Maybe you could start from then. Tell us a bit about what happened. Let's start with his name, though we refer to him by his name.
Okay. His name is Shama Gift Philip. He's 7 years old, light-skinned. Let me begin with the attire. He was wearing leather purple trouser, leather purple jacket. He had open shoes with black socks.
Yeah.
Inside the leather jacket was a blue sweater, and he was shaven. So we alighted at railway terminus, and we were heading to upcountry to visit a friend. After alighting, when we were in the Nissan, Shama had requested for some sweets. So we stopped at a sweet vendor to buy some sweets. I was carrying our small baby, who is 9 months old, and I was on phone. So the mother bent to buy the sweets and have some exchange of the money. So Shama was standing behind the mother. So after completing buying the sweets, the mother turned back and could not find Shama. Shama was not there. So she turned to me with Shama, and it was somewhat drama. And when we could comprehend that Shama is not within where we were standing, the mom broke into screams. And that's when we began, searching, calling out his name. And that is how we got separated from each other.
And how long did all this happen? How long ago?
Oh, it is now a week.
It's been a week.
It's been a week now.
Okay.
Yes.
All
it
right.
happened on 8th of June. 8th of June.
On the 8th of June, right,
Yes.
in the city center.
Yes.
Now, just looking at the statistics from International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, about 8 million kids go missing on an annual basis. That is roughly about 1,500 a day. So in every 40 seconds, a child goes missing. And just as you have heard from Philip, it was a split second. Mom bent down to buy him some sweets, and turning back up, he was not there. And now, in the process, in the fracas, did you try calling out his name to see if he would respond, or someone had seen him?
Yes, we did. It was calling out Shama loudly, and like going this way, going that way. But again, it was a bit tricky, because we realized we could also again get detached
from each other. Yeah.
Again causing more trouble.
Okay.
So I had to be more alert than the mother, because now he's the son is not there. Now the mother is screaming up and down. Now it's more of a now trying to put together, the mother and raise the son, taking care of and have the small baby.
Yeah.
So it was not easy.
It was
Yes.
a lot happening at the same time.
Yes.
And
Yep.
from since then, you haven't been able to be in touch with him. Nobody has reached out to try and tell you any information about him.
So far, we have not received any positive calls, but we have been receiving positive calls from friends and relatives encouraging us. But about his whereabouts, of course, you hear of. We went searching in all the town, everywhere, and relatives came in, were very supportive. Somebody would say, we saw like him, he was here, he would run there. That way, but when we would reach there, it's not him, or again you would be told we have seen. Some would say we have not. It was all that kind of mixture of information from people.
All right.
Yes.
Now, so you were separated. You lost your child as a result of being separated in a public space,
Yes.
which is one of the ways that children can get lost and separated from their parents. And number one, especially in public places when they're not familiar with their surroundings, the biggest reason for why children go missing is as a result of separation. And before we wind up, you'll be giving us a detailed description of Shama and how people can be able to let us know in the event that they see him. But let's talk a bit about some of the ways that children have been able to disappear and be separated from the parents or people who they are familiar with. And just as we have said, the first one is separation in public places and unfamiliar places. Now, let me come to you, Abok. Let's talk a bit about kidnapping for ransom. Now, in this case, nobody has reached out to say, we have your child, we want this or this. Nothing like that has happened, right?
Yes.
Now, let's talk a bit about kidnapping, the event that, they take your child for ransom purposes. From where you stand, how often do you think this is a reason as to why, children go missing?
Oh, definitely. Jain, it's unfortunate that we discuss on this such a time, but also recognizing the moral degradation in the society today, whereby what is expected that people be proactive and responsible for children, being the children are communal people and essence. People take advantage of the children, either for different reasons, and one of them is for ransom. And for ransom is where you are actually putting a peg on a child.
A price tag.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that you can be able to get on something. But of course, definitely this do happen either by known or people who have actually have an idea of what you have and they want to get it from you. And so for that matter, they actually pick on something that is so much attached to you that they can actually be able to, demand for what they want. This they know that it, number one, affects you psychologically in that, you begin to think all around and you begin to get helpless. But also the element of social aspect in that you feel as much as even when you're not with the people around you are not really close to you, but they hold on the responsibility of taking care, of watching on your back, for that matter, and so it's very unfortunate moment that can go on through this, but of course it's something is coming out clear here that Jain, whoever we're detaching ourselves from the children based on what we are actually going out for. And what are we going out for? We're going out to be able to make our children happy. We want to be with our children up close. But also the other thing is that we want to make life better. Yet there are people who have strategically taken advantage of this situation. And how are they taking advantage? They are taking advantage because there's a moral degradation, there's financial need, and there's also elements of revenge for lack of a better word, you know, to be display on that. So, I don't know what.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Now, Philip, from where you sit, have you suspected this to be a case of kidnapping or just separation?
It is just simple separation because nobody has demanded for any ransom. Yes.
So it is just a simple case of separation.
Yes.
All right, and have you been able to, report the case to the police and see if there's any progress made so far?
Yes, we did report to the police. We have the OB, and from there, they were sent a signal to all the police stations. From the KICC police station, that is where I reported.
Okay.
And then I went to Kamukunji, I've been going here and there. I also went to Railways police station. Yes, and different in Ongatarongai as well.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's just continue with, just looking some of the causes of missing children. Number one, we talk about separation. Then the whole aspect of kidnapping for ransom. And there's now the whole issue of child trafficking, which is still on a rise up to date. Children are being taken from their parents, from their home, from familiar environments, and being exploited for other reasons that, are very detrimental to the child. And let me come to you, Abok. When it comes to child trafficking, what do you make of it?
Yeah, different reasons make on child trafficking. Number one, you need to discover that child labor is on the rise, especially in Africa, based on the poverty vis-a-vis the demand for labor, for cheap labor, I mean.
For that matter.
Yeah, and so you discover that it's pretty essential that our borders are also a bit porous in that matter. That I crossed the border a couple of times, and people just walk across. And sometimes people can easily walk with a child without being inspected or being asked a question. One, so it makes it easy for people to do child trafficking. But also, we can also not underrate the insane of this Al-Shabaab thing, that kids are being recruited into child soldiers and all these kind of things. But yes, child trafficking is on the rise. Number one, because there's a moral degradation. There is a clear structure on how to adopt children. There's a clear structure on how to have children in custody, to be custodian of children. But of course, the shortcut of what people trying to manipulate children and trying to have what they don't really cannot be able to get in a proper way. But of course, asking myself, on a 7-year-old is a psychologically developed child who can actually identify the parents, but is also cognizant of what they want. So wherever you're picking up this child, though you can actually take them on to be able to frustrate them or put them in a condition that is not really befitting at the moment for self-satisfaction, but also look at it that what goes around comes around. They will actually discover themselves. But the frustration that you're putting onto the parents. But also the other aspect that the child trafficking is on is that, Jain, the moral has actually gone on haywire. Pedophiling is on the rise. There are people who have actually just strategized, and some of them are foreigners, who are actually out there to pick kids and do very nasty things with children. Destroy them physically, destroy them emotionally, destroy them psychologically for their own self-interest. And so some of them are just keeping them up in their houses, and I believe we need to up our game security eyes. But also the child trafficking with the social aspect. Whatever happened, I want to go back to what happened. It is a social place, and the mother has shouted, and because it is not only the mother responsible for the child, but we are keeping one another's back. Could there not be someone who responds and say, hey, I saw someone doing this? Because it is during the day. Someone saw something.
Someone saw something.
And they're just keeping on quiet. Or is it a matter of people are so strategically geared and planned on towards this, that maybe they're being followed on from where they came from, and they're strategically monitoring their movement to an extent that they have already strategized themselves. Is it a curtail or a conduit kind of a system that they knew what they were going to do, whereby it involves several kind of people? It's unfortunate that we used to know that goods are the ones for sale.
Yeah.
Now human beings have become for sale. And it shows a collapse in the system of what you're doing.
And you know, I was just reading an article about, you know, child trafficking, and in most cases it is somebody who is somehow familiar to the child that, you know, are the biggest perpetrators of child trafficking. Now let me come to you, Philip. When you are with your family, were you in an environment that maybe you knew somebody familiar?
No. I wouldn't say I saw anybody who was familiar. Yes.
All right. And when it comes to the whole aspect of child trafficking, how aware were you of it? Or are you aware of it?
Maybe to be specific, the mother was holding the baby's hand, only released the hands to buy the sweets and do some exchange. And back in town, you cannot, the boy cannot go free hand. Yeah. You have to, even 10, even 12 years old, you have to hold your hands because in a street, it is very challenging. Even for the grown-ups, when you are walking, you have to keep very close, otherwise you will be separated, even for the grown-ups. Yeah. So in this case, the mother was in full control. It's only that you would wish, the mother was wishing, if he had even instructed the boy to hold, if you knew anything would happen, to hold even onto the cloth, something like that, or could not even have bought the sweets.
Wishing you did something different, maybe.
Yeah, wishing that did not happen, or there was not even that thought of buying the sweets. Yes.
And maybe this wouldn't have happened, you know.
Yes.
It's a very sad situation. Now let's go to one of the other causes, you know, leading causes of missing children, and this is about, you know, runaway kids, and this is mostly about the teenagers, due to, you know, issues from home, issues from school, and you find so many teens attempt to run away from home. What do you think is the biggest cause, you know, aside from, you know, issues to do with parental neglect at home and abuse? Maybe let me come to you, Abok. When it comes to runaways and teenagers, is it reason enough in the first place?
Yeah, when it comes to runaway, normally it's on teenagers. Why? Because, you know, on a teen age, the dynamic of the psychology of the teen is based on the self-discovery and personal space, whereby you discover that teens want their space, but also want their dignity in compassion. So when teens are not given the space to explore themselves, they find themselves confined into a certain kind of an environment, and yet there are a lot of things that are happening within themselves. Number one, they are cognizant of who they are. And number two, they are looking for space because they are discovering things about themselves. So when they find that the rules and the regulations within the systems of the family cannot be very conducive for their development, they try to look for a space for themselves. Why are they looking for a space? They're looking for a space because they want love, they want acceptance, and they want security. All right? Why do they allow it? Young people perceive love in the context of appreciated, given on what they want, when they want it. Getting to what they're not understanding is that when you bake your cake and eat it at the same time, it may not be really as sweet as if you give it a process to cool down. But of course also it depends on parent-youth relationship. How do you relate with them? You don't spank youths to rectify them. You reason with them. Why? Because they are, in their senses, they feel that they're grown-ups. And they are in a position that they can reason themselves, they can take care of themselves. Someone outside there have told them how they love them, how beautiful they are, has affirmed to them that they are mature people. So they're coming on with that mentality. And they're looking at you like, you know what, we are, the only difference, me and you, is because you are working and I'm not working. And so they need a reason. So they need to, whatever you're telling a young person on a teenage need to be quantified, but also qualified based on the circumstances that they are. So that causes on a runaway. You find when there is no environment of grace where they can express themselves without being victimized, they find that the space is so limited for them to be.
All right, and now let's just quickly move on to, what to do in the event that your child goes missing or you are separated for your child and, you need to find them. And let me come to you, Philip. Now, when your child went missing, how long did it take for you to go report to the police station?
Was it like, because it happened around 8.
8 in the morning?
Yes.
All right.
Then we had to search. It was around 12. That is when I went to report.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Because, in most cases, they say wait 24 hours, but every minute counts. Every second counts. And when you look for him, especially when you're in a public place and it's an environment where the child is not familiar with anything, please go and report immediately. Right, now, let me come to you, Abok. Would you even advise, even in the first place, to wait 24 hours? Maybe the child would come back home.
You can't wait 24 hours.
Yeah.
Child does not have a number plate or a chassis number. All right? Here is a case whereby you're in a public place, someone has already taken advantage of your child, and every minute counts and they're moving away. So it's important to, what needs to be put in place, Jain, is do we have a security system whereby if you make a report, there can be an all-round circulation that we are on the watch, both on the borders, to the taxis and every other place, that something can actually be arrested within a confined of time. I know, I don't want, as much as I don't want to blame on the government, but I blame the society on the whole aspect, in that you see someone struggling with a child in a taxi or a matatu who does not look like and you're not raising an alarm. I think we need to raise up the antennas of our responsibility, self-responsibility, that we can actually be proactive in the aspect of the way we look at things, because you will definitely know if this child belongs to this person or this person, this child is abducted in a certain way, based on the way the child behaves. But of course, there are also systems. They are brought in other scrupulous ways of doing things, where they drag kids into malady, and the child cannot be able to be themselves, go into coma or asleep, kind of a thing. But a 7-year-old is someone who maybe you're driving with a kid for all maybe 30 kilometers, and the kid is all asleep. You need to wonder, why is this kid sleeping all through? Raise an alarm, because you cannot leave the security to the police alone. We need to raise up antenna. So you cannot wait for 24 hours. 24 hours is too much.
It's too long a time.
They would have actually crossed the border, and being that our borders are porous, they would have actually made it.
It's actually easier. All right, and now the other thing is to, just as you said, report to the police station. The first thing first, go to the nearest police station, especially within the environment that a child was separated or went missing. Now, the other issue is to go to the children's department. Maybe tell me, in terms of going to the children's department, have you been able to do so, and what progress has been made towards that end?
Yes, I have gone even to the children's homes. So many of them, and so far I have not received any positive information. But from many of them, I discovered they have a system of receiving children in their homes. It's not like long ago whereby any child would be picked from out there and brought in. They have a specific way, of course, following legal ways.
Legal procedures.
Legal procedures.
Okay.
So I have not received any much help, but whenever I went, there are some who would take the details and spread it in the social media, in WhatsApps here and there. So I've received support from that end.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to the children's department, on a state level, do you feel like there is enough awareness in terms of, especially in when the government side of the divide, in the children's department, are they as empowered, as enabled to be able to help in missing children's situations?
Not so much. I sit in one of the committees in the constituency that deals with the children and helpage. What happened is that actually this is most of the time they deal with cases of family conflicts, and the children are actually left in jeopardy, or they deal with children who are actually being neglected, and all such kind of cases. But you discover that is not as rampant as the case with our brother here. So there need to be a lot of awareness in that whenever you find a child, you know where to take a child. Because most cases, when they find a child, where do the police station? Now, you discover that if the police station is far, they take the chief. The chief camp sometimes is so, for lack of a better word, very dilapidated, and very lonely. So the kid is there. Someone can even take advantage of that kid right at that place and do more harm or traffic the child for that matter. So the children department is not so empowered as it should, but also they are overwhelmed. I've sat in that office in Embakasi few times, and you find that there is one officer against 10 cases within an hour. So it's an overwhelming situation. But of course, it is necessary for people to be informed. I think this is one of the departments that needs to be empowered so much in the government right now, being that the moral situation in the society has actually been poorer. Because we're not only just talking about this scenario, but there are children who are actually left and are really suffering. Some of them are going through a lot of traumatized situation, both in the family. They need to come in handy. Some get a limelight to be reported. Some are just there, and it's God who knows their case.
In some cases, even go unsolved for years.
Yes. For years.
Now, the other step to take is, visiting children's home, which is just what he has said. He's been able to go to a variety of children's home, and numerous numbers of them, and they've still not been able to find their child. But, there's so many children who end up in children's home as a result of being separated. And just looking at some stats, there are over 200,000 children who are at children's home, and most of these have either been separated by their parents or have been orphaned, and they haven't been in touch with any family relatives who can be able to get in touch with them and take them back home. So if you are in a situation where you lost your child, you were separated with the child, please be sure to look at as many children's homes as you possibly can. You never know, your child could be in one of them, and they haven't had any way of reaching out to you. Yes, Abok.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be a central database system whereby you can actually get into either in your house or somewhere else, that you can get information of all children in all children's home. Because at 7 years old, and I think maybe we will discuss on this, the cognitivity of the children as we train on the children, that by 7 years they need to know the telephone number of their parents, they need to know the names of their parents, but also they need to know the name of their school and the estate where they're living. These are very essential things that as parents we need to train our children. So when a child is taken to a children's home and they ask the telephone number of their parents, they need to actually bring it out. They need to ask which school you go to. They need to say it, and maybe who's your teacher, and where do you stay, which estate do you stay. So those are some of the things that can actually be able to help. And this goes on to parents out there, that we need to essentially train our children to know the basic information that can help them in a place. Or what can identify, what are some of the things that can identify the places if they are lost, and so that they can make it all right.
Yeah, and we'll be getting to some of those safety tips that you need to equip your child so that in the event that you are separated physically, they can be able to find ways in which they can be reunited with you. Now, the other step maybe you could take when trying to just find a missing child is using social media. We're living in a day and time when technology is at our fingertips. It is easily accessible, and it goes a long way in terms of using social media. Now, let me come to you, Philip. Have you tried to employ, the use of social media, and what progress has it made so far in terms of finding Shama?
It has been very supportive. When you get to the social media and you see my son is there at least, do I say what distribution? Do I say, what do you say that? To posted everywhere.
Disseminate information.
Yes. So it is of much help, very much
It has helped in terms of spreading the word out.
Yes, spreading the word out and creating more hope that as many eyes see, he will come back home.
Yes.
So as much as people would, if we can use the social media always in the positive way, it's a very good way of even curbing criminal cases, and also helping such separation. It really helps.
It helps, and
Yes.
it goes a long way. Abok, what do you make the use of social media in terms of helping find missing children?
Yeah, basically, there's some of the reason why social media exists. I believe social media exists for people to make a wannabe kind of statements and put them out there. But of course, social media is one of the most essentially used but very fast way to communicate that I believe such things can. But Jain, let us bring it on this. If there is a moral degradation in the society, where to an extent that a child can get lost during the day and no one can actually be able to raise an alarm around that area, that can actually, the social media could not be in a position to help. Because just like I said, a child does not have a number plate or a chassis number that you can actually look and say, this is the child that is actually, even if you post their picture, more or less they look on the same. When the hair grow, he may look the same as many other children. Of course, it's essential to go on to social media, but also people take advantage of social media by extorting financial gain that I believe is not happening unto Philip, or trying to confuse you left, right, and center, make phone calls, and try to demand on for other things so that they can be able. So my take in that social media is very good, but as long as it is properly used within the context of spreading the information, can be a great advantage.
It can be of great use.
Yes.
All right. Now let's just quickly go to the safety tips when it comes to just helping equip our children and position them better in terms of knowing who they are and how to find their way back to you as a parent. And you had mentioned a few, but let's just start by for children who are at an age where they're able to understand and communicate effectively, when it comes to knowing who they are and their names and all. Let me come to you, Philip. Shama is 7 years old. Does he know his full name, where he lives, and maybe even your name as his parent?
Yes, he's very well equipped. He knows his full name, Shama Gift Philip. He knows his age. He speaks fluent English and Kiswahili as well as Kikuyu. He knows my full names and even the mother's name, where he lives, where he schools. He knows all this.
Okay.
Yes.
And how is this important in terms of even letting your child know your name? For most parents, you get offended when your child calls you by your name sometimes, like unaita nani hivi, unadhani tunatoshana. But you never know why it is important for your child to know your name as the mother or as the father. How far does it go in terms of even just protecting the child? Because it's there was a debate about this, that it is good that the child has this information, but it can also be taken advantage of by some people who are trying to solicit information from the child to take advantage of the parents.
Yeah, Jain, at an age between 6 to 11 years or below that, let me pick it up from 3 to 8 years. Children are on a point of they are cognizant about their environment. They're sensitive about friendship, and they are, they're scared of loneliness. So they're very particular in friendship. They get to know who likes them. This is where if you come back home with sweets or something, you will always, they stereotype towards you, in that they will always ask you that if you come. So when a child get to know their parents' name and can mention them. It is not disrespectful. It's just getting to know that I am daddy, but this is my name. So they know when to call you that. But also exposing them to, but enlightening them that their risk can happen, that you can get lost. Let us train our children. Let us remind them that people do get lost.
Yeah.
You can be abducted. You can be, people can take advantage of you. So that they be sensitive of people. They love people, but they don't trust everybody. Letting them know that it's not good to trust everybody. But also, what happens in case of an emergency? Because emergency will happen. Emergency either on the bus as they're going to school, emergency as they're playing outside somewhere.
Yeah.
What are the first things that you ought to do? The first thing is to find yourself in a safe place. How can you be able to hide yourself from an event, or maybe someone has a gun or a knife? I want to do something. How can you hide yourself? And when you hide, how then can you be able to reach your parents as fast as possible? So do you have your parents' number offhand? So train them, write for them down. Be asking them when you are communicating, what is my number?
Find a creative way.
Or find a creative one for it. And then whenever you drive or you're in a matatu with your children, try to point to them some of the signposts or buildings that can actually assure them that when you see that building, you know that home is this.
By, yeah.
If you see that church, this is home. So that they, in case they get lost, they may not actually get to know the home, but they can tell somebody that if you only reach me that place, then I can find my way out. Because some of the children, we pamper them to an extent that they don't even know the panya route behind the gate. And that is dangerous for our children. So let to know to what extent they can trust people. Because at the age of 7 years, you find that children are more attracted into people who give them things. What can you be able to take from somebody, and what can you not be able to take from somebody?
Yeah.
And it is essential to teach our children that not everyone who gives them something is acceptable. They need to know what to pick from someone and what to deny.
Yes, and I like what you said in terms of, when you're traveling with your child, be pointing out familiar landmarks. If you see this home is this way, and this way you're going away from home, know this place in case we get separated, go to this place. Have trusted people whom you can be sure that your children will be safe with when they go to them. And of course, letting your child know where you live, the name of the place you live, and the name of the school, because children spend so much time at home and at school. Now, let me come to you, Philip. Shama is 7 years old. Was he aware of where the name of the place that you guys live and the name of his school as well?
Yes, he knew very well by name.
So he would be able to specifically point out, I live here and this is where I go to school.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us the name of the schools that, if anybody has had such information, that can be able to reach out to you.
His school is Jain School. And we live at Exciting at Ongatarongai.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, another safety tip that I came across, and I found quite interesting is when it comes to limiting interaction with strangers, because children tend to trust people who know their names.
Oh, sure.
And this boils from the whole situation of, as parents, we like making matchy-matchy T-shirts with your children, and you tend to put their names on the back of their T-shirts. How risky is that? Because, once I see your child's name on that T-shirt, I can be able to call them by name, and they'll think like, hey, Ananijua, so it's okay. The child trusts you.
Very true. It's very dangerous, especially in the society that we are living in today. And when you expose your children on so much, and you discover that, Jain, people who will always do harm to your children are not so much strangers.
Yes.
There are people who have interacted with you on one way or the other. And they either the child know them, if they do not know their secret character, but they know them in a way. They are the conduits to child doing or something. But also to build on that is when we expose our children into social media too much. Exposing their names, exposing what you're doing, taking their pictures every other time.
And posting on social media.
And posting them on the social media. Dangerous people can actually use those pictures to lure children into very dangerous circumstances. So please, children are private matters. Keep your home privately. If you want to put your picture, put your own picture. Don't put your children's picture on the net.
Yeah.
You know, or exposing on their names. That would be a great way to protect them.
Yes.
But also, to what extent do you allow people to be in an environment of your children? That's why it's important. And you know, sometimes we have home managers and they help us on with children. It's important to get the information, but also to train your children that this is a home manager. This is an auntie that is taking care of you. He's not your mother. So in case of anything, raise an alarm. You know, in case of something that you see that is not going on well, please raise an alarm, because when children overtrust people, we give responsibility to take care of them, that to an extent that they can actually not be able to give information, that becomes a dangerous situation whereby children can actually be going on through a scenario and we cannot know, because we have actually not also developed friendship with them. Yeah. We need to get to understand what friendship are we developing with our children. Are we developing friendship that are out to develop them holistically, or to create fear that they can only open up to strangers?
Yeah.
You know, are we so rough into them? Because what causes children to open up to strangers is when we have locked the door that they can actually not be able to share with us anything that
channel of communication.
Yes.
All right, now another thing that you just mentioned is, you know, when it comes to caregivers, we need to choose them very carefully. Now let me come to you, Philip. Maybe had Shama mentioned any recent events in regards to maybe the people closest to him having done this or done that?
Oh no, we have not been having the household.
Ah, okay.
The mother has been taking care of our children.
All right.
By herself.
All right. Now, when it comes to choosing caregivers, Abok, how careful do we need to be about this? Because, you know, even the most familiar people are the ones who tend to take advantage. Just as you were saying, you know, in most kidnap cases, so many of them involve the immediate caregivers that are not the parents.
Sure.
How careful do we need to be when it comes to choosing our caregivers?
Yeah, Jain, I cannot say that you can be 100% in getting to know who our caregivers are. But at least it's essential to get basic information about our caregivers. But also get to know where they come from, village that they come from. And try a little bit to know, do you know someone in that village who can give you a little bit about a history of this person, but also get to know their spiritual background, right? Who are they? Because issues of spiritualities are actually played a major role in the well-being of an individual. And so what is their spiritual background? To what circumstance? Because you know what? I always tell people, let us be factual. Nobody grow up and say, my profession is to be a caregiver. There must have been circumstances that has actually made them want to be that. And some of the people, some of them are actually either revenging as a result of being that, or they are in that on a process to be better people. So on the process of that, get to understand to what made this person become a caregiver. If they are actually reacting into such a situation, I don't think it would be appropriate for such kind of a person to be given a responsibility to be a caregiver. Because they will be looking at your children and they're seeing that, you know what, mine are in a miserable state. Why should yours be?
Yeah.
They could have a tendency of revenging on that. So, and when you have a caregiver, your caregiver is not someone you be at a distance with. Get to know their psychological being by engaging them in a conversation. Get to understand what is their status, what is their situation, what are their aspirations, and how you can actually be able to come involved. You may not be able to achieve on the 100% of what they want, but the fact that you get to know them will help you to know how to handle them and their emotional dynamics.
Okay.
That would be grateful.
All right, and finally, let's just look at how, you know, we need to teach our children in terms of responding to strangers.
Yes.
You know, when you are meeting, even a child meeting some of your friends, they tend to be a bit too comfortable, and they drop all sense of God. But how do we equip our children in terms of, you know, letting them know how to react in the event that they are approached by a stranger and, you know, somebody who they're not familiar with, and they're not comfortable with what this stranger is doing? Maybe let me hear from you, Philip. As a parent, what would you advise other parents out there in terms of teaching their children how to react when they're interacting with strangers?
Not to accept things like sweets or cookies or anything from strangers. Even if possible, even some greeting salams, because that is where it begins from. But even to answer those greetings, because once you respond, the people who are dangerous with evil minds, they will proceed to the next agenda.
Yeah.
So actually, I would say that it is good that we teach our children not even to respond to greetings from strangers.
People that they're absolutely not familiar with.
Yes.
All right. Abok, when it comes to equipping our children with skills on how to react when they're with strangers, especially those who make them feel uncomfortable in one way or the other, what would you advise towards it, and what can we teach our children to do?
What I always tell children is respect everyone, but trust no one. All right. When it comes to trust, is the child needs to be aware of their basic environmental standard and peripheries. To what extent can someone get into you? Don't just greet everyone with your hands. Don't allow hugs. Don't just sit on the lap of every stranger. Show them respect. You can bow down and say, when they greet you, greet them, bow down, show them respect. But yes, be forthright. Train our children to be forthright. What do you want? Why are you asking me such a question? I don't know, I'm on my way. You know, let them be observant of the person that they talk to. But also, give your children creative ability on coming out of situation. All right? Like, if someone asks your child, okay, show me the way, you know. The simple thing is, I don't know, or that is the way, and leave the story. How can they answer the question promptly without getting into more details? Because people who are actually luring children into kidnapping or doing them harm will always engage them in stories that look like they are interested. But train your children that as much as they can respect everybody, they need to be sensitive about everyone. You know, in that not everyone who asks a question. And train your children to be independent.
Yes.
You know, independent in that can they do the things by their own. How do they cross the road? You know, look at the right side, look at the left-hand side. You do not need to depend on someone to hold your hands to cross the road. You know, be independent. Be careful about yourself, but also about the people who are around you.
Yes.
That will help children to draw landmarks and boundaries, create boundaries whenever they're communicating with other people.
Yes, and you know, just teach your children to know that, you know, if this makes me uncomfortable, I need to do something about it. You know, react in a way. You know, I tell my daughter, if you're in a situation that you don't feel comfortable, all manners, go outside the window, scream, shout, do everything that will draw attention of people who are around you that will be able to help you get out of that situation. You know, so if you find
and create an environment.
Yeah.
I get home and for the next 5 minutes, my daughter is busy telling me how the day was, how the teacher reacted, or what. And you know, sometimes parents, we tend not to have time for such kind of things. It's not, it may look like a bother, but you know, the more you give your children the space to be able to be vulnerable to you, is the more they create confidence. Because some of the children are actually being messed up, but they fear to communicate with their parents because they do not know how their parents are going to react.
Yeah.
So please create an environment of grace, but also allow your children to be vulnerable, that they can actually be able to communicate everything that they've gone through.
All right, and before we have a quick look at social media, maybe Philip, you could just give us, you know, a brief definition once again of, you know, what Shama was wearing, where you are, how he talks, how he looks, and, you know, for somebody out there who might have seen him and has information that, you know, is very familiar with what you are saying, they can be able to reach out.
Shama Gift Philip is light-skinned. He had shaven. He wore a leather purple jacket. Inside was a blue sweater.
Okay.
A purple trouser. Open shoes with the black socks. Yes.
He's 7 years of age. He can communicate in both English and Kiswahili.
Yes.
And understands a bit of the mother tongue Kikuyu.
Kikuyu, yes.
All right. So if you and the last place he was seen was around the areas of railways,
Terminus.
the bus stage. If you are within the CBD, you would be able to know where that is. That was the last place he was seen. It's been a week. No information has come in so far in regards to his whereabouts. So if you have come across or you have seen a child that fits this description, he will be giving us his number, which he'll be posting on a social media platform. You can be able to reach him and just help this parents get their boy back. I mean, it is a parent's worst nightmare to be separated from your child, and you are in a position where you can't help them at all. You just, you are depending on, the way things will unfold and the people around you. So if you have heard of him, he went missing on the 8th of June. That was about a week ago. And purple pants, purple leather jacket. He had a blue sweater on the inside, open shoes with black socks. His hair is cut short, light-skinned in terms of his complexion, and speaks well in both English and Kiswahili, and understands a bit of his mother tongue. Now, I don't know, Ram, are you ready on the other side of the studio? Just let us know what is happening on the social media streets. The hashtag being hashtag Good Morning Kenya.
Right, yes, we are, and just on standby here, it's this whole issue about children going missing, child trafficking has been trending for a very long time. It's not something that is new. It's not something that is occurring now. It is something that has been going on for quite some time now, because many people go online. We have in Kenya many government institutions that cater for looking for children who go missing, and issues to do with child trafficking. So the issue is, what do you do when a child goes missing? Now, one aspect that we have here is child trafficking that has been going on for quite some time now, and there was an assessment report on these issues concerning human trafficking that was done by it is the assessment report on human trafficking, a situation in the coastal region of Kenya. Now, looking at this, I was able to just grasp a little bit, because they say under this report, under the Counter Traffic in Persons Act 2010, trafficking in persons is legally defined and recognized as a crime in Kenya. Now, the government of Kenya is committed to combating human trafficking and to ensure the implementation of preventive, protective, and rehabilitative programs of victims of trafficking. Now, here we have regulations and guidelines that have been included, and there is one aspect that in this forward by Director of Children's Service in the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. He says that Kenya represents an attractive route of transit and destination for human trafficking and smuggling of migrants due to its stability and infrastructure, while it is also described as a country of origin that exist within the country. Here we are talking about children going missing, children being trafficked from one region to the other. So it is quite a debate here, and on social media many people have been commenting on it using a hashtag child trafficking in Kenya. One, Mbiti Kioni, said good lessons for Kenya good lesson for Kenya to discriminalize sex work, but hypocritical moralist leaders with an attitude won't. I would rather continue with the helpless debate about femicide and child trafficking. Think. Now, this is a tweet because it has started up a lot of debate here. Some believe that it is an endless debate when you talk about child trafficking. It's an endless debate, and the viewer Mbiti Kioni says that even including debates of femicide is an endless debate, and he says, think about it, because the police in Kenya rescue 14 victims of human trafficking in Gikomba. And according to the DCI, the girls of Ugandan origin were found at Gikomba area in Nairobi and were allegedly being trafficked for child labor. Sorry for that. Now, all right, trafficked for child labor. Now, moving forward here. Okay, we have a tweet here. Children face unique protection skills that require all stakeholders to work together to reduce these risks through the strengthening of child protection systems. Remember, this debate that we are having today just comes just a day after yesterday, where we have the day of the African child. People were being celebrated. We were celebrating the African child, and I remember last week, Jane, you had discussion concerning this, and it is quite interesting. We are coming up with this discussion on children being missing just a day after we talked about the day of African child celebrations that happened yesterday within the country. Now, so far, these are the tweets that we are having on social media, just to sample, but one more. The Justice Plus Freedom says, what can you do with others to help end the issues to do with children going missing, child trafficking, and human trafficking in general? All right. Okay, there is one more tweet here at Patriot for Freedom says, this is so scary. Moms, parents, parenthood, please pay attention to what is happening. Never be more than feet from your children to prevent these crimes. So far, keep the tweets coming in. The hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter, at KBC Television, at Jain, and at Ram Agugo. It's all about children going missing. What is the solution? What do we do? Is it an endless debate, just as one viewer has said? Well, that's something to think about. Jane.
All right. Thank you very much, Ramaguko. And just as I told you, a child going missing is a parent's worst nightmare, of course. And just we're here to help you better understand ways in which you can be able to equip your child and, equip yourself even in terms of what to do and what not to do when you are in an environment where the child is not familiar with, and, what you need to teach them the basic skills as to, what to do in the event that, you lose contact with them physically, what they should do immediately, and of course seeking help from the local authorities. And of course, just as Aboka told us, the State Department for Children needs to be better empowered, and even our police station, they need to be better equipped and be able to handle such cases of missing children. Now, before we wind up the discussion here in studio, just to remind you a brief definition, or rather description, of how Shama is. He is a boy. He's called Shama Gift Philip. He's 7 years old. He went missing on the 8th of June around the railway's bus terminus. He was in purple pants. He was wearing a purple leather jacket and had a blue sweater on the inside. He had black socks on with open shoes. He had a low haircut. He's light-skinned in complexion. He can be able to express himself very well in English or Kiswahili, and he understands Kikuyu. So if you come across a child who fits this description, please be sure to reach out to the parents, and we can be able to just help bring this boy back home. And there's also Emmanuel Kirago, who is a 12-year-old. He went missing on the 13th of May 2019. He was last seen in Odhiro. He's a Class 6 pupil in one of the schools in Kabeta. We'll be posting his mother's contacts on my social media platform. You can be able to check in with me. You can be able to help spread the information. If you have any information that can be able to reunite these children with their parents, it will really go a long way in terms of easing these parents and bringing this child back home to an environment that they're familiar with, just less than the amount of stress that they have undergone in the time that they were in separation. Now, as we wind up, maybe let me start with, let me hear from you, Philip. What would you like to tell other parents out there in terms of, being on the lookout and equipping their children, and, for even the parents who have been separated with their children? What would you like to say to them?
One I would like to tell them to be very vigilant. And as we are vigilant, let us also be prayerful. That is not to mean that we are not as parents. We are, but it's good always also to be prayerful and to ask for God's protection. Yeah, it is very important.
Yes.
For that, as we take precaution here and there, necessary measures, and as we have talked, let them know their names, the parents' name, where they live by name.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Abok, as we wind up, maybe what should you like to tell the parents out there when it comes to how we deal with our children, how we equip them for independence as a whole?
Great. Children are our number one priority as parents. especially the security of our children, are very fundamental to every parent. And I believe that as parents, we need to look at the security of our children, both in our houses, at school, and the public places that they go into. Let us also get to understand what are environment and areas that we get to expose our children. Don't just expose your children into places that are actually not secure, but also get to equip your children with information, but also with security tips that they can actually be able to maneuver themselves out of a quagmire that they find themselves into. But also, lastly, is that in the society, let us be one another keeper. In case you have an information of a child that is actually gone lost or is going missing and does not know where they are, as a parent, you know the pain of losing a child. So let us be proactive by actually informing the authority, but also bearing in mind that you can actually also, whatever our brother has gone through, anyone can go through it, and it's not something that they desire. So please help out and give information appropriately and within a space of time that can help them to get their child.
All right, thank you very much. We have been discussing matters concerning children and children who have gone missing for that matter. And with me in studio, we have been speaking with the Fred Aborg, who is a mentor, a motivational speaker, and our resident analyst. And to my immediate left, he is Philip Maurer, who is the father of Sharma, who went missing, and he is also a teacher by profession. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we want to just call it a day. I don't know, Ram, what do you have on your end before we wrap things up in studio today?
All right, just to bring things to a close here with traffic updates as of now. It's now almost 16 minutes to the top of the hour, looking at what's happening on our roads in order to enable you to know which routes to follow even as you leave your house to go to your destination. We shall be looking at Thika Road, Langata Road, and Mombasa Road briefly, starting with the Langata Road. Looks good, starting in from areas to do with the around the Galleria Mall, coming into the CBD. We are having swift movement of traffic. There is not much, based on what we are seeing. Remember that the blacker the color, the heavier the traffic. There is not much traffic that we are seeing along Langata Road. So you will expect to have a swift ride all the way through to the CBD, except when you get to the roundabout that connects Langata to the Bagathi Way, where you should expect just traffic that will delay you for around 2 to 3 minutes based on what I am seeing on my smart wall. But if all you want to avoid this route, you can be able to just follow Bagathi Way and get into the CBD, but continue on along Langata Road, whichever way that you prefer. It is all good. But Mombasa Road does not look good as from the areas of Total South Sea Service Station. This area is experiencing some traffic build-up getting over near the areas of the Nyayo National Stadium. Right? Let's head over to the highway, the one and the only mother of all traffic. All right, Thika Road looks good. All right, I'm happy today. We are seeing Thika Road looks good as you head over to the CBD near the Mudaiga area is when we experience some slight traffic, but that is the only place where we have traffic along Thika Road. Jane.
All right, so thank you. That's that. Now we just want to wrap things up, but remember, Good Morning Kenya as every Monday through to Thursday, and tomorrow being Tuesday, on my side of the divide, we'll be focusing on women who are at the forefront to bring change in one way or the other, but still bringing change into the society. And tomorrow we will be having Professor Margaret Kobia, who is the CS for youth, for public service, youth and gender affairs, telling us a bit more about her journey and how it has been so far, given that she was appointed by the president into office. So she will be joining us to tell us a bit about more of her journey and what more needs to be done to just try and empower the youth and, looking at matters to do with the gender affairs. All that will be happening right here tomorrow on Good Morning Kenya on my end of things. But for now, I just want to say thank you for being with us all the way from 6 a.m. up until now. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Jain Boy. Over to you, Ram.
All right. And on my end, tomorrow morning, we shall be putting matters health into perspective. But remember, all through, we have been talking about human health. Tomorrow, let's look at one aspect that we've never talked about, animal health. That's right. We shall be looking at that tomorrow morning, so not miss that discussion on Health Tuesday. I would like to wrap things up on my end with a quote here by Bob Kishan. Said, "Parents are the ultimate models for children. movement and action has an effect. No other person or other outside force has greater influence on a child than a parent. That is a quote I'd like to end this discussion with. My name is Ram Maguko. May God bless you. It has been good morning, Kenya. Keep the tweets coming in.